What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Handforged. Today we're here with Nate Allard with the Newburyport Chamber of Commerce. I've been practicing that.
All right.
It's like a lot to say.
Missed a couple words.
What would I miss?
It's the greater,
Jesus Christ.
according to the IRS,
All right.
we are the Greater Newburyport Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Inc.
Holy shit.
That's a massive title.
Listen, that's a lot, man. You guys are going to be like one
I
of
usually
those.
just say the chamber.
Yeah, the chamber. That's way better. We're going to stick to the chamber. Don't listen to this, IRS. Anyway, so I met Nate, I think a couple of years ago at a BNI meeting. He came into the group that I'm in Newburyport. Pretty sure that's how we met.
Yeah.
And then I think we met again at a chamber event, and then I think we scheduled a lunch. I think me and you went to, I think it was New Kitchen or what it was before New Kitchen. And we had lunch or breakfast or something like that at that point. And then I was actually at lunch with Candace Lord from Green Cocoon a couple weeks ago. Saw you over there. You were also in a meeting.
Yeah.
And invited you on. And here we are.
Awesome.
Yeah, man. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about you?
Yeah. I mean, I can talk for days, so be careful.
Let's roll.
Yeah.
John will shut us off after a little while anyway.
I'm a super local guy. Yeah, Nate Allard. I'm born and raised in Newburyport. I live in Salisbury. You know, like I title myself hyper local. Born at Anna Jake's, running the Newburyport Chamber. You know, it feels good to be like that close to home. You know, with all of these things.
Maybe for you, man.
Yeah.
I hate going back to my hometown.
Yeah.
I like when I go to Salem, I have like PTSD. I'm like, man, I fucking hate it here every time I go. And I don't care how nice they make it. Like they're doing all this stuff with Tuscan and like, I was just there for a contractor's dinner last weekend and like at like the State Street Grill or whatever, the Capitol Grill is beautiful,
Grill,
like nice place. But every time I go there, I fucking hate it. I'm like so glad that I got away from Salem, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Sorry. I love everybody in Salem. But
I love the Tuscan Village is awesome. That's honestly where my wife and I we escape. That's like far enough away. Yeah. You know, where we have young kids. So,
I used to steal chromies off of cars in that parking lot when I was a kid.
Oh, really?
Like when it was the racetrack and they had the big parking lot out there.
Yeah.
Like we used to roll up over there and then I would sell the chromies at school for like $1 a piece.
Yeah.
And people would put them on their bicycles.
I think we all did that, right?
That was my spot. Now it's like a super fancy place. I'm like, damn, where are all the chromies at?
Yeah. They have a car show up there, like an Italian car show.
No shit.
At Tuscan Village. That's a hell of a place to steal chromies.
Probably get shot, but Jesus. And my price is going up on those chromies.
Right, yeah.
This came off a Ferrari, so $100 a piece.
Chromies, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, through and through, I'm a Salisbury kid, so that all sounds familiar to me. You know, I grew up here, a couple miles from Salisbury Beach. Yeah. My wife and I bought a house, again, 2 miles away from the beach.
No way.
So it's been, it's been fun, kind of living in this area. And you grow up in this area, you do like the Yankee homecoming, you do the parades and all that as a child, and then you grow into starting to like manage and help advertise those things and work on the boards that, you know, those events are coming from. So
you were probably going on those things when you were like a kid, right?
Full circle. Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's a riot, you know?
How is that Yankee homecoming? So I think it was 2 years ago now that they had asked me to like advertise or something over there.
Yeah.
How is that? Like I've actually never been to a Yankee homecoming. It always like happens when I'm away.
Okay.
Because my boys are busy lacrosse, so like I always travel for lacrosse, so it's always during like lacrosse season, and I'm always like out of state when it happens.
Yeah, that's a cool event. You know, it's its own nonprofit. You know, it's a local family that sets up a 10-day event. It's everything from like the downtown like market and shops in Newburyport. They do a version of like a car show on the Mal, which is that pond, pronounced the Mal. A lot of people call it the Mall.
The local guy says it's Mal, all right?
Yeah, it's Mal. It's Mal. My parents said it's the Mal, so it's the Mal. So they do a lot of cool things. That's one of like in the chamber right now. That's one of maybe 110, 120 nonprofits that we help support in some way. So
damn, is that many?
Yeah.
Wow. So the family, how the hell's the family rent the whole downtown of Newburyport.
Yeah, you have to have, it's a lot of permits, like the event situation. You know, underneath this hat is no hair for a reason. Like,
Yeah.
it's a tedious,
I bet.
it's a tedious project to do any sort of, like, the chamber does a spring festival, a fall festival. We do our car show.
I went to the car show. That was cool.
Yeah, we do the Christmas tree, like the help with the parade and do the Christmas tree lighting and all that. And everything is a permit, and depending on where it is, there's a parks fee. Depending on what you have, usually I'm trying to put some sort of alcohol component into a downtown event.
Yep.
Everybody's happier if there's a beer garden somewhere.
Sure. Well, it just makes the husbands happier. Like the
Right,
wives want to go, the husbands want to go just because there's beer.
Totally.
You know.
Dude, from that tourism perspective, though, like, if you can keep someone in a location longer, they will consume more. They will spend more money.
Yeah.
Hopefully not consume too much alcohol, but they will spend they will spend more. They'll go downtown, they'll follow State Street, they'll go to In Street. They'll be like, wow, what an adorable area this is.
Yep. Yeah, and that's the stuff that gets people coming back.
Right.
Like most people that don't know Newburyport or like have never been down there for dinner or lunch or whatever it is, like once you go down there and kind of experience Newburyport, I've been in a lot of different places. Like I travel quite a bit.
Yeah.
There's nothing really like Newburyport. Like
Right.
Newburyport is like a cool little town, and it's like right in our backyard. I've been to every single restaurant. There's not a single restaurant I haven't been to in Newburyport.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure,
awesome.
anyways. Like unless there's someone's hiding somewhere, like I swear I've been to everyone. But it's just like a cool little downtown, man. Like you get the little boardwalk down there, and
Yeah.
they got the bands that like play down there sometimes, and then you have like all the you get some waterfront restaurants, and then you have the restaurants that are like in the downtown area, and like all the food is fantastic, and there's like always stuff going on. It's a cool little spot.
Yeah. Really blessed. I would say I'm fortunate to be running a chamber in this area. I can't imagine in a there's plenty of cities through even through COVID that didn't survive that still have brick and mortars empty, cardboard boarded up walls, and you have to make sure you never like it's a fine line. You got to make sure you never get too close to that.
Yeah.
If you're looking at it from like the mayor's perspective or from an economic development perspective, to make sure your downtown is thriving. If like two people leave a certain area, that could cause another person to go out of business.
True.
That could cause a street to go out of business. The minute there's like 4 missing buildings on Pleasant Street could become like a rough part of the city,
True. Yeah.
So
That's interesting.
I always think of that like, hey, where I think the nation even, every city and town is on that like fine line where if you don't treat your businesses right, if you don't treat the residents right, they can walk and find a new opportunity elsewhere. We're right on the edge of New Hampshire.
Right. Right.
If you're in Newburyport's industrial park and you're not getting, a great tax incentive to be there, why wouldn't I go to Seabrook
Right.
and open up? So it's like that. I always think that way. And maybe I shouldn't be thinking doom and gloom all the time, but like,
Well,
that's kind of what got me into this position to be like, hey, we need to support the business community.
right.
Because if they leave, this place will be dangerous. In the 60s,
Yeah.
Newburyport, I've talked to some locals. My predecessor, Frank Cousins, who ran the chamber, he was a state rep. He was a sheriff.
I was going to say he was
Essex County
sheriff, wasn't he? Yeah.
at least 10 years, 10 or 12 years. He would tell me growing up in Newburyport, if he walked on In Street, now, mind you, In Street, there's a Montessori school. There's an adorable barber shop and coffee shop. There's a playground now. In the early 60s, you'd be mugged
No, really?
past 8 o'clock.
No shit.
Think of how wild that is.
How do you think that turn happened? Like,
Yeah.
how did it go from that to what it is now?
It took a lot of people to focus, chamber included back then, chamber, the right mayor, the right leadership to say, guys, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Let's fix this.
Right.
Let's clean this place up. Let's convince some people to move here, to start a business here,
Yeah. Interesting.
And that's at the end of the day, that's what every city and town's trying to do,
How long has the chamber been around?
1966 is when we turned into the Greater Newburyport Chamber of Commerce.
Gotcha.
So there was a downtown, and I'd have to talk to like a local historian, Museum of Old Newbury or something. Because there isn't a whole lot of paperwork for when it officially started. But you go down the streets and you see like Cashman Park, like Mr. Cashman was one of the first board members, you know.
Interesting.
And like Malcolm Hoyt and like some of the streets down, you know, you'll notice all of these names and you'll be like, wow, these are like the leaders, the badass people that have streets named after them.
The founding fathers of Newburyport.
Exactly. And they were like, hey, let's not level brick buildings, you know.
Yeah.
Let's keep this place a quintessential New England town.
Right.
Keep it adorable. Convince some people to move here. Let's clean up the downtown. And look at it now. The before and after pictures are hilarious. It's like a scrapyard. People are like poor and sad. And now you see like, you see it thriving.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's
G-Wagons are pulling into the parking lot and spending $1,000 at a restaurant, you know?
Right.
And you're like,
Yeah, that's interesting, man. I would have
Yeah.
loved to have seen it. Like, I always love history for that reason. Like, how
Yeah.
things change like that. I would have loved to seen it like in the '60s when it was like rough,
yeah,
and then like see it now and be like, ah, that's fucking cool.
Yeah.
You know,
I know.
yeah, that's cool. So,
But like, how lucky are we?
yeah,
I look around and walk around like that. I'm like, I'm almost embarrassed to be like that fortunate, you know?
I get it. I get that. How the hell did you get into this? Like, what were you
Yeah.
doing before this?
It's funny, like oftentimes running a chamber is like a retirement gig for like a state rep or like
I
a,
was
like
gonna say,
some
you're a young
political
guy
figure.
to be doing this.
Yeah, I did it the wrong way. The right way to me, but the wrong way.
You're gonna
in
retire
general.
as like an iron worker or something.
I'm gonna go. Yeah.
Just do it
I'm gonna
backwards.
go 180. Yeah. No, it's funny. I've always been in like sales and marketing. That's what I went to school for. You know, I was doing a lot of like digital marketing. I was doing some sales. A lot of people, when I was in a sales role, would find out that I have a degree in marketing, so they would ignorantly say like, "Oh, you can do our graphic design work, right?" And then it was like a sales and marketing role somewhere. My last career was at a local brewery, True North in Ipswich, True North Ale Company. So I did a lot of like the social media. I oversaw like the tap room, all of their marketing and events and things like that. I've always, just because I totally understand getting involved in the community as a salesperson. Like step one is know everyone in your community and you'll do well. You know,
It's true.
like we were saying before we hopped on, it's like the networking aspect. I don't know why I knew that was important, but I always, at any career I've had, I joined my local chamber. I was like, this is easy. As a sales guy, I'd walk in, whether it was the brewery or I've had past jobs in sales at like in the printing industry. I was in the firearms industry for a while.
What'd you do there?
It was a startup called Boston Shooting Club. I was like a range safety officer, but I was also like the marketing director. So doing their social. Everything's extremely regulated, so it's hard to be like the social media guy for a
Right.
a gun shop and a shooting range, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Gun shops and pot shops. Like those are both really hard.
Yeah. I've always told
heavily
everyone I need to
regulated.
get into tobacco some way so I can have the whole ATF line. Like, you know, it was,
the
and those are
resume.
fun industries to understand, you know, to work with law enforcement. It was mainly like police training.
Yeah.
So we had this mobile shooting range. It's kind of a wild history I have. We had a mobile shooting range that was a Great Dane tractor trailer truck. And it was encased in steel and like ballistic rubber. And you could bring it to the kind of like the back parking lot of a police station. And all the officers wouldn't have to do overtime or travel to a shooting range
All right. Just walk out back.
to qualify on their pistol.
Yeah.
Every police officer carrying a firearm needs to understand when and when not to shoot it and have good aim.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, of course, makes a
Pretty
lot of
important.
sense. right. Or else they don't let you hold one.
Yeah, right.
And that you reverse engineer that into like you can not be a police officer. It's
Right.
pretty simple, you know.
Wait, what's that movie with Will Ferrell when he does the desk pop and then they give him the wood gun?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. What not to do. Right. Yeah. So even in any of these positions, you know, I've always said like I need to join my local chamber. I need to know what's going on if my business was in Ipswich. I need to understand what's going on in Ipswich. I need to join the Cape Ann chamber, the Greater Newburyport chamber. At the time, there was an Ipswich chamber, you know, like a small volunteer chamber. And it's really, I don't know who said this, and I steal this quote all the time, but your network is your net worth.
Right.
And
I say it all the time too.
it's that simple.
Yeah.
Like I'd walk in the brewing industry. I wasn't a sales guy, I was the marketing guy. But I would go to a mixer at the Deck, or I'd go to a mixer at Michael's. And the fact that I was there wearing like a True North hat and, had a True North business card, and I'd say, hey, we're a local brewery, 9 times out of 10, because they don't want to like source and understand IPAs and figure out who's the best, and they'll just try you.
Yeah.
They'll say like, yeah, I'll take 2 kegs.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is easy. I didn't even mean to sell it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're in front of people. You
Yeah.
know? You understand that like you're an easygoing guy. I'd rather do business with you than the person that cold calls me.
Yeah. True. Yeah. That's a really good point. It's funny because like we joined the chamber a couple years ago, but I don't go to as many chamber events, I guess, as I would like to. And like, in just talking to you, thinking about, I do a lot of networking, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And like, that's the hard part right now is trying to narrow down where the hell I'm actually going to go and where I'm not. But, I think being involved in the towns, for us, like we target Newburyport quite a bit as far as marketing and advertising goes. We do a lot of work in Newburyport. So like being more involved in the chamber just seems to make more sense.
Yeah.
So thank you for talking me into it. I'm gonna be more
Yeah.
involved.
You get out of it what you put into it, man.
It's true.
I shake people and say that all the time.
Yeah.
It's the gym membership mentality is where my head goes all the time.
Yep.
I can sign up to go to a local gym. I can never attend, and then I can say that wasn't of value to me at all. I didn't get anything out of it.
Right.
And as like the guy running the gym, I'd be like, well, no kidding. You didn't show up to anything.
Right. But I still made my money off of you. Yeah.
And I think that's the unique thing about me in this role is that like a lot of executive directors of chambers of commerce are like hardcore salespeople.
Yeah.
And I'm almost the opposite. It helps to be like the non-sell person. You gain trust that way. You build a lot more trust, and then people are like, hey, I want to work with Nate. If someone tells me like I'm not able to attend anything and I don't see a value in it after I like explain what we do and what we don't do, I oftentimes will agree. I'm like, yeah, if you don't have the time for it, don't sign up for it.
Don't do it. Yeah. Right.
And they're like, well, now I want to sign up for it. Reverse psychology. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, oftentimes it's that honest. Like you get out of it what you put into it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the best way to do sales. The pushy sales stuff does work in certain industries, and following up and making sure like you're on top of things and making sure that like people that might be interested, like you're still pushing a product or whatever it is. But I feel like for certain things, just doing the networking and making sure people know who you are and what you do is like the best sales model. Because like same thing, like I do a lot of networking and I go to a lot of different events and we're part of a bunch of different groups, and I don't really go in to make sales. Like that's a byproduct of what I'm actually there for.
Yeah.
I like shooting the shit. I like meeting people. I like hearing stories. I like, I just like building relationships, so like that's fun to me. And out of that comes sales, same thing. Like when I joined BNI, I didn't join BNI for a revenue generator. Like I joined BNI because like I needed more local resources. I had a bunch of people in southern New Hampshire that could help me with certain things, but like I needed someone to do my t-shirts. I needed an attorney. I needed someone for payroll. I needed, all these different things in running a business that I needed. And I found in that group, and I've built relationships with a lot of those people. And the byproduct of that is revenue. Like we make money out of the group,
Yeah.
So it's like, I feel like that's the best way. That's the fun part about sales to me. It's like, I'm just going out to fucking have fun. I'm going out to meet people, shoot the shit, do that type of stuff. And cool, I can make money doing that. That's cool. I'll take that job.
And then who do I want to, when I'm doing like a home reno or a new house, like who do I want to work with?
Right.
Like the friendly guy that I see all the time.
Right.
Not 1-800 build a house.
Right.
Like
yeah, for sure. How long have you been with the chamber?
Just about 4.5 years.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I like about what you do at the chamber, it's different than most of the chambers that I know of, is that like you said, you're probably 30 years younger than most chamber guys. But you're out there, man. Like, you know, you're always doing different things. You're active on social media, which I think is important, you know, because at the end of the day, like, you're trying to generate awareness and you're trying to bring revenue into the chamber, and like, that's your job. And social media marketing is a part of that. Like, you know, and, you know, the older generation just isn't as involved in that type of stuff. And just, you know, seeing you work with different businesses and, you know, doing different things, and it seems like you're all over the place. Like, you know, those are the types of people I want to do business with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the way that I look at it.
Thank you. Yeah. It's funny. I think I'm like the first chamber executive to, especially in Newburyport in this chamber. I think I'm the first to be like a millennial with a beard and tattoos running the place, you know, like that wouldn't happen.
Do you have to get voted in? How's that work?
Yeah, it's by the board.
By the board.
So there's a board of about 20, you know, like leaders in the area. Yeah. And it's everything. Like, the diversity on the board is usually based on industry. So it's like, we want a couple bankers, an insurance company, a retailer, you know, a restaurateur, a couple, like a brokerage, you know, like any mix. And then we also say, like, all right, the focus is that regionalness too. Like, this chamber, as much as I say Newburyport, where the greater Newburyport chamber, that's southern New Hampshire to Ipswich and Topsfield, you know, it's about 700 and change for members. Anything from like hospitals to the bookstore, you know? Right. So yeah, so it gets interesting.
They vote you in. Who was the last one? What is your position? Director?
Yeah, so, well, I was hired as like the membership guy.
Gotcha.
So I got like a sales gig at the chamber. Yep. And I was just popping into businesses that I frequent, which I'm like, this is great. I live here. I buy my coffee here.
That's perfect.
Do you guys want a membership? This is what it gives you. And they're like, sure. That's Nate. He's spent probably a couple grand here in coffees over the past year. Right. Membership's a couple $100. Right. You know. Interesting. So that was an easy sell. But yeah, Frank Cousins was the executive director, president. I don't know. I interchanged them, but you're hired as like the president. A lot of people in the nonprofit world call like the person running it the executive director. Yeah. You know,
I know in our nonprofit, like, that's who it is. It's executive director is kind of the head of the organization. Right. And then the board just kind of votes on stuff and eats free food and stuff. You know.
The board, have you ever heard of the I think it's the 3 W's, like work, wealth, or wisdom?
No.
I love this so much. It's work, wealth, or wisdom. So like that's how I'm vetting board members that I'm like introducing to the board and inviting to join the board. Interesting. Obviously the board needs to vote and approve them collectively, but if we have a lot of wisdom on the board and we have nobody sponsoring anything or nobody throwing down a dollar, a sponsorship check, funding a project, you know, we'll fail. If we only have funders and we don't have any wisdom, that's all on me, which sometimes I'm fine with. But, you know, you'd like to get advice from like the people above you, the people on your team that way. Yep. And then the work, it's like, if we're doing all of it ourselves as a scrappy team of like 3.5 at most, 3.5 full-time people, sometimes more, sometimes a lot less. During COVID, when I moved into the like director role, I was alone for I don't know, a few months at least.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
I think when we met, you were alone. You were the only person.
Yeah, so it was like, put your head down, and just grind it out. You know, hey family, I'll see you when I see you. You know, I'm over the bridge. Like, you know, yeah, it was a funny ride, but eventually, you know, Frank retired. Yep. And I didn't put my name into the ring. I'm like, I've been here for 8 months as the sales guy. Yeah. I don't know how to run a chamber, you know? I found out it's not hard to run a chamber, you know? It's a lot of work. Yeah. But as long as you don't overcomplicate things and like I just said, like put your head down and grind out these events, work with people, communicate well. Yep.
So they just took a chance on the 8-month guy that's younger than everybody else. Like, we're going to take a chance on this guy and bring him in.
No, there was, it's funny. Yeah. So I skipped, I guess, the middle. Frank retired, and then we had a job search. We had a couple local candidates. We had someone sign up, receive the job, and then leave pretty quickly into it, saying this is too much.
Interesting.
I think there were family issues and health issues as well. But during that phase, I became just interim. We didn't have anyone. Nate, you're running the place.
Yeah. Till we can find somebody.
And I think there was a level, and I'm being very honest. I think there was a level of egg on our face if we do this again, hire another person and they don't work out.
Right.
Nate's already working out.
Yep.
And then at that point I was like, it would be foolish if you guys put this on the job market again. I'm doing it well. And my board understood that too. They were yeah, it's a no-brainer at this point.
Yep.
But it is scary that and I get into this habit too, you not make fun of, but you could think less of a generation below you.
Yeah, for sure.
Plenty of people say millennials are lazy, and millennials are in their 30s and 40s now that are running companies and
right,
doing a lot. So it is funny to think of it that way. I think there was a mix of board members that were like, I think he's too young.
Yeah,
you can't,
sure,
because no one young ran a chamber before.
Right. Well, and especially the Newburyport chamber, because the demographic of Newburyport is older.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So I feel like there was some risk on their end as far as that goes.
Oh, for sure.
I
could have blew the place up. Could have been terrible at it.
Goes back to 1960s Newburyport.
Yep. A bunch of people getting robbed again. What happened? There's a scrapyard in the middle of the town.
They put a statue up of you of making fun of you.
Yeah.
This
just
is what happens.
They build it to tear it down and publicly.
That's funny. So what do you think is the hardest part of what you're doing with the chamber? What are the obstacles for what you do?
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't understand that it's a nonprofit, So where we walk that fine line between we want to look like the powerful organization that is a voice for your business. Mm-hmm. If you're a small business, I can advocate for you. I can connect you with the right people. I can give you these educational pieces and benefits to help your business. Mm. But on the other side of that, I need to be the guy that says please fund our nonprofit, and that makes you look weak to a degree,
True.
So, and on the flip side of that, I always have this mental battle with the amount of nonprofits that are chamber members. And I'm I don't want to ask all the banks for this support because there's a food pantry that's asking for it.
Yeah.
Imagine being in line with the people at the food pantry and they're asking for $5,000 and I'm asking for $20,000.
Yeah.
And I get awarded the $20,000 and they get nothing or half or what. I'm not saying this happens, but
that's
where my
what you're saying.
brain goes.
Right.
And I'm they need it more than I do. I'll figure out a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I could see that, man.
But it's hard. It's a membership organization. So it's a 501c6. A lot of people assume all nonprofits are a 501c3, which is a traditional charity.
That's what mine is.
But a membership organization, 501c6, we're fueled by membership dues.
Yep.
And also sponsorships and any events we do. So if we do a golf tournament and we make a profit on it, awesome. That goes back into our mission of connection, advocacy, and education. Our three, I hate using this term, but our three pillars of, of the chamber. That's what it's all about. So if we can't fuel that, we help businesses less.
Yeah.
We show less value, and then you look like a weaker organization. So it's full circle where it's, hey, I want to fuel this place, look strong. I also need to ask for funding.
Yeah, I was going to say, I also have to beg for money. So.
Right, yeah. There's a degree of that. And all of us nonprofit executive directors laugh about that piece of it, that it's there's a level of you'll do anything for $1 to help your organization,
Yeah.
So
has it always been 501c6? 501c6?
Yeah.
It's always been.
So the chamber, attached to it, we have a charitable foundation that has helped with beautification. I kind of switched that into helping local students with scholarships. So anytime we have a summer intern that does a semester, we'll award them $500 each summer. They're an intern here. So
For any business or for the chamber?
to work at the chamber.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it's like an internship program. I love the idea of like these students are helping us with everything.
Right.
You know, it's like office work and like, hey, can you help us at a registration table at a mixer, or can you help us set up booths at an event? They're doing all of that chamber work. But on the flip side of it, I often am not coaching, but I'm talking to these and trying to mentor these students
Yeah.
to be like, what are you interested in, and how can I connect you with a local business that does that?
Yeah.
So if there's a kid that's like, I want to get into engineering, my grandfather's an engineer, was an engineer, my aunt and uncle are engineers, everyone's successful, I want to be an engineer, you know, I would love to say, hey, have you talked to the folks at Crystal Engineering?
Yeah.
You know, it's a really successful company. I bet I can get you some sort of internship there, or it's a 2-year degree. Let me connect you with Northern Essex Community College that will help offset the costs of that certification program, you know, to then get you an internship next year into this, you know,
Yeah.
company. So
Which the value of that is huge.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because like if you walk into a company, say you walk into Seacoast Cabinet, right? Somebody walks in and says, hey, I'm looking for a job or I'm looking for an internship. You know, I'm going to have to interview them and get to know them a little bit.
Yeah.
If that person is referred from somebody that I know that's like making those types of connections, like I just brought, actually it's funny because I just brought in, do you know Chris Crump with CWC Design? So I hired his daughter. So his daughter was home from college for a little bit of time.
Yeah.
She was home for like a month. Chris is like, hey, daughter's looking for a job. Like, do you have anything? I'm like, yeah, we'll bring her on. So like I brought her on. Like those direct referrals for stuff like that, I'll take all day long because like at least like there's an accountability aspect of it. You know what I mean? I'm not just hiring somebody that I don't know, that hasn't been vetted or nobody can vouch for. Like those are harder hires to make. But if I get somebody, like if you sent somebody in and was like, you know, they came in and said, hey, I know Nate. He sent me in here. He told me you're looking for a designer. Like that's somebody that kind of almost instantly has credibility with me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You move to the top of the pile.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of value in that. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that aspect of things. I feel like internships and apprenticeships, I've been doing them forever, right?
Yeah.
I see so much value in that. Just to introduce kids to like the trades. Like when I had a tool belt on, you know, I used to run a program for at-risk youth. And because I was part of the 501c3, I could bring kids in and had to do court-appointed community service. So instead of like cleaning cop cars and doing that type of stuff like I used to do, or picking up trash on the side of the road when I had to do my community service, I could bring them in and teach them a trade. And we would do community service-based woodworking projects. We would find a need and we would build stuff for that need, right? So they were learning something from it, and it was cool because like you could introduce them to the trades. And then like I do stuff with the Next Charter School up in Derry, New Hampshire. They have a capstone program where I think it's like senior year they have to do 400 hours in the industry that they kind of are thinking about getting into. And it's, you know, an internship, so like, you know, I usually throw them some money, but like it's free, right? And you get to introduce them to the trades. But then same thing, like if it's not a good fit for me, then I can connect them with a framer. I can connect them with an electrician. I can connect them with a plumber. You know, because like it's hard to do that without having like somebody kind of advocating for you. You know what I mean? It's possible, don't get me wrong, but it's much easier to do it if you have somebody that's like making that push for you.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, especially with like the younger kids, and like they need somebody to kind of not mentor them, but like to pique their interest a little bit. Like mom and dad can only do so much, right? Like my boys have a ton of respect for me, but they don't want to get into the kitchen industry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe they will someday, but like right now they don't. They want to go out and spread their wings and see what's going on and what else is out there, you know? So like if you can find somebody that is a good mentor for them to help kind of, you know, not push them in a direction, but aid them in a direction.
Yeah.
I think it's important. You know, and the world needs more of those types of people doing that stuff.
Exactly. I was just going to add to that like, isn't it wild that this concept of like bridging that gap is fairly new? Like, why haven't we been doing this for years and years? Like connecting local companies with a local school system to get kids familiar with these sort of trades.
Yeah.
It was almost like not that long ago, it was kind of not taboo, but it was like, oh, don't go into trades.
Yeah.
Don't go to Whittier. You know,
Right.
That's where like the local bullies go. You know, that's
Yeah.
where like isn't that a riot?
It's crazy.
You know, I worked with my father's been doing HVAC work. He's worked at oil companies and he has his own HVAC company. So I've been in like installing boilers and water heaters since I was 12.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and it's so funny. Probably my biggest regret. You know, I would talk to him about in the summer you're in attics, in the winter you're in basements. You're
Right.
freezing your ass off, sweating your ass off. It's a tough job, and I thought it was like a dirty job because you're told that your whole life. You want to be in a basement your whole life?
Yeah.
Well, I guess not, you know? And then you go to school, you get student loans, you get out with a degree, you have like a mediocre job. And I'm like, well, shit, I would have loved to do that because you're making like $400,000 a year over here.
Right.
I have student loans,
Yeah.
you know?
And it's funny because if you really look at it, man, the trades are the backbone of this country.
100%.
Look at all the roads, look
Yeah.
at all the trees that were cleared, all the houses, the buildings, everything. Everything was done on the back of blue collar businesses.
Dude, the
And, like,
respect you get in another country, it's equal to a first responder,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
You work, steel, like, let's give you a round of applause. Thank you for building this city.
Right.
It's because of you that we have a city,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And around here, sometimes, not everybody, but like the entitled people are like complaining about the guys that are fucking working, you know, on the side of the road or on the side of the highway and they're closing down a lane of the highway. And people are like, oh, aren't they done yet? What are they, you know,
made me
it's
late for
like,
work,
yeah.
yeah.
It's like, are you fucking kidding me?
Right.
Like, keep giving those guys a hard time and see how your life goes after that when there's nobody that wants to put these roads in or nobody that wants to build these buildings. Like, see how it goes then.
And imagine 180ing that mentality and saying like, hey, anytime you see someone that works for like a DPS or works for like buy a coffee for them,
Right.
you're going to have the cleanest streets. You're going to have the best looking parks. You're
Right.
gonna, like,
Right.
if you give a shit about the people that do the work,
Right.
they'll go above and beyond for you too.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And if you don't, go do it yourself. Then
Right.
you'll gain some respect for it then. You know what I mean?
That's always a riot in the nonprofit world. The feedback you get, the constructive criticism
Hell yeah.
that you get.
Yeah.
The Christmas tree's a little too short. It's crooked. I don't like the ornaments. You know?
Yeah.
You can hop on a ladder, my friend.
Yeah,
You can
have at
you
it.
can buy it all. You can
Dude, this is, you're going to get me going on this one.
I know.
So-
So we're going down a wrong path, I think.
We, as a nonprofit, right? We had
Yeah.
a young kid a couple years ago that took his own life, and you know, young kid played football, got into some trouble, and ended up feeling like the only way out was to take his life, and he did it. And kid was awesome. Everybody loved the kid, and nobody knew it was going to happen, and it happened. So as a nonprofit, like it happened in our town in Derry. So I was like, we got to do something. Like, let's generate some awareness. Let's do something cool. So we put together this flag football tournament, and we had like 40 teams ended up showing up. We had a bunch of people. We brought vendors in. We had a bunch of sponsors. We had 3 or 4 games going kind of horizontally on the football field at a time. And then at the end of it, like the teachers that wanted to play got to play like one of the winning teams of the students. So it was like students versus teachers. It was such an awesome event, dude.
Yeah.
And like, you know, the family came out and they were like so appreciative and they were involved in like setting it all up and stuff. And we did so much good. We raised money, and then we took the money that we had raised and we put it towards scholarship for 2 students that wanted to excel in a degree in mental health.
Yeah.
So like we did so much good. Dude, the complaints that we got about that event, I was like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like it just like, it drives me crazy.
It's a different type of person, you know.
Yeah.
That story hits home for me pretty hard. My sister took her life. My older sister committed suicide. Probably we're going on 10 years, a little over 10 years. And yeah, your mentality shifts for sure.
Yeah.
After something like that. And then you see people complain about the simplest of things.
Yeah.
You're like, you're going through life like that?
Yeah.
You know, it gets you really focused on like emotional intelligence.
Yeah. Well, it makes you understand and it makes you recognize the people that haven't been through enough shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I've been through a lot. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And like, it changed my perspective on things.
Right.
I would never complain about fucking somebody putting together an event like that, or like complaining about your tree being crooked. Like, give
I
me
know.
a
Can you
fucking
imagine?
break,
Yeah.
you know? And like, but that's the thing. And then like, you try to explain that to somebody who's so entitled that has never experienced the things that I've experienced.
Talking to a
like,
wall.
like talking to a wall, dude. And it's like, man, I hope it never happens to you. I really do.
Yeah.
But it'd be real good for you if it did.
Yeah.
You know?
How lucky are you
Right.
that you can complain
lucky
about
are
all
you,
these
right.
things? Yeah.
Yeah. Drives me crazy.
It's a different world. Yeah.
It's a
Yep.
different world. Yeah, man. Let's get back, to the chamber and kind of what you're doing.
Yeah.
So for me, and kind of why I told you this earlier, why I wanted to invite you on is that, like, we're trying to help the trades. We try and kind of bring people on that can help some of these businesses grow, and kind of, just seeing different perspectives of things, right? You work with a ton of different businesses. You make a ton of different connections for people. You do a lot of networking. You host a lot of networking events.
Yeah.
And that's why I was like, it'd be kind of cool to kind of talk to Nate a little bit about what he does and kind of how he does it. And, obviously you're not a blue collar guy. You're not out there building a chamber of commerce, but
Right.
like, you're out there on the street and you're doing the networking thing. And I always say your network is your net worth.
Yeah.
And I don't know where that originated. I got it from my buddy Eric Spofford. He always said it, and it's something that just stuck to me.
It's been
like
passed
I said,
down.
it's been passed down.
We don't know where it came
I'd love
from.
to find the founding father of that term. I'm
It's
gonna
on
Google
one of
it
the
later.
blocks of one of the pyramids. It says it right in the corner.
It's right on the paw of the Sphinx.
Yeah.
So I saw a lot of value in kind of talking to you because you're always out there, man. You're always on the street. You're always networking and meeting people, and I see you at a bunch of different events.
Yep.
Where did I see you last? I saw you at an event. It was a fundraiser event. It's like you're always at the fundraisers. Like you go to a lot of different things.
Anna Jake's, maybe.
Might have been Anna
Firehouse.
Jenks. I think. Oh, it's Firehouse. Yeah, the
Firehouse, yeah.
Firehouse one. Yeah. So you always go to all this stuff. You're super involved in the community.
Yeah.
And there's obviously value in kind of what you do, as it relates to small businesses and specifically the trades.
Yeah.
As far as the chamber goes, right? What type of responsibility or like what can a like if somebody joins the chamber, what can they expect to have to do or really be doing in the chamber? Like what is a guest or a visitor or not even a guest or a visitor, but like a member of the chamber do?
Yeah. So like once you sign up.
Once you sign up,
Yeah.
like what is expectation of you?
Sure. Yeah. Right off the bat, I would say like the digital benefits are right up front. So if you, like we were saying earlier, if you don't attend a thing, at least you get a free profile, like listing on our website.
Mm-hmm.
Our website sees at least 30,000 people a month, which is great for like a local website. Oftentimes it will search, in search rankings, it will index higher than your company's website.
Interesting.
Because it's been established for so long. So if you put a listing in there, make sure your logo's on it, your phone number's accurate, your website is, correct.
John, can we make a note on that?
So right. It's as simple as that, know. Like if you just make sure that and across the board, like outside of the chamber, if you just look at every digital listing you have, John knows this very well. Like if your listings are all screwed up, if your phone number is here, your business on Yelp says permanently closed, like you're all over the board. You got to clean the shit up,
Truth.
And then people can find you faster. A lot of people still use the chamber as their like 411. They will literally call. This is a different demographic here. They will call our main line
From the phone
say,
book.
I need a painter. Who's a rep? Like we're the Better Business Bureau. Like what's your rating? What's your score? And if you're get out of it what you put into it. If you're attending things often, and I know, you got to call Frank. That's the guy I would say right off the bat because he's in the back of my mind.
Right.
Or we look at our directory and say, here are 8 people that do this, and here are their phone numbers, you know, and this is the actual point of contact that you want to talk to.
Yeah.
It's Bill from this place. It's Frank from this place. It's Jim from this place. Those are our three. We're not going to tell you anyone else that isn't a member because we want to support our members. You know?
Right.
So right off the bat, you get that. You get access to other members. So if you're thinking of like, if you're in the sales mode, or if you want to be a little less confrontational than like a mixer, if you're not used to networking, right? And you don't want to go to like a lunch and learn series or a morning or an evening mixer networking event, one of our core events, you can just reach out to people. And oftentimes, like in our directory, hey, I'm also a chamber member, and I saw that you sell homes. I do aerial drone photography, like for a few different realtors. I'd love to do it for you. You're like immediately, like we were saying earlier, you're above the list now because there's like that
credibility,
little level of credibility where it's like, oh yeah, I'm a chamber member too. Yeah, I just signed up. What do you do? I want to meet you. I have a lot of people that are like sales oriented, even if they're not sales oriented. I'm like, do that. Go down the list. You know? And if you like change the category to your industry and be like, as simple as that, be the friendly person. If I own a marketing agency and I go on the chamber, I join the chamber, I look at other marketing agencies, you bet I'm going to call all of them and say like, what do you guys do? Maybe we can white label and trade, you know, in some way. We don't do any graphic design, but we do a ton of like website, UX, whatever. I'm going to send you, anytime someone's looking for a logo, I'm going to send it your way. Great. I'll send you all these. I don't know how to build a website, but I'm killer at Illustrator, you know,
right?
Whatever it is. I'll send it your way. And then everyone is under the assumption that like, you don't talk to your competitor. They're over there and there's a wall and you know, shoot cannons at them and
right.
No, it's quite the opposite. We're both chamber members. You do this really well. I want to be buddies with a commercial realtor. You know, maybe he's commercial and residential, but if I'm just residential, I want to meet this guy too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Trade business.
Inter-industry relationships are huge, I think. You know, because like I know a lot of people that do the same thing that we're doing. But, you know, we're in direct competition with each other for sure. There's no doubt about it. But, you know, the what I've seen and the knowledge that I have is different from what they've seen and the knowledge that they have. You know, so even if we can't, you know, send business back and forth, just having a conversation with those people, I've always found like huge benefit in it.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, you know, and I don't want anybody to fail. Like I want you to succeed just like we're succeeding. So like, you know, maybe we can do it together. Maybe we fail together or maybe we succeed together, you know, but it's, but
imagine
I've always
failing and having enemies. Like that would double suck.
Yeah, for sure.
At least fail with a friend.
Fail with friends, right? That was actually the whole premise of the podcast. Like, John, we're gonna try this thing out, see how it goes, and if it burns and sinks, then we're going down with the ship, bro.
Yeah. But like 20 years from now, if you can, whether it was a success or a failure in some aspect of your life, isn't it fun to be able to be like, hey, remember when we tried that thing?
Yeah, right.
Whether it was successful or not. You know? Remember that was crazy when we did that for a few years.
John, remember when we tried that podcast? How stupid were we? John actually started his own podcast too now, so we have two podcasts.
Follow both your podcasts, guys.
Do you really?
Yep.
You follow John's too?
It's you
Mine's
guys
way better.
And like Joe Rogan and Andrew Huberman and everyone else that I buy supplements from.
What about Frisella? You follow his?
Who?
Andy Frisella?
Yeah.
Okay. It's like you don't know Frisella, but you know Huberman and Rogan. Come on. I know. Yeah. What other podcasts do you listen to?
Who do I listen to? Yeah, it's mainly like Rogan and Huberman. Oftentimes, if Joe Rogan has someone great on his podcast, Chris. What's that English gent's name? Like Chris Williams or something.
I don't know that one.
It's an awesome podcast. Yeah, I don't know. I nerd out on all of that.
Yeah.
A lot of productivity people. Who else? Dan Martell.
Yeah, Dan Martell's awesome.
Yeah.
Have you read that book?
That guy's a rock star. Buy Back Your Time.
Yeah. It's like a huge push for me.
Yeah.
I fucking love that book. Yeah. You know, talking about inter-industry, right? So I met a dude, fuck did I meet him? Down in Miami. networking event down there.
Sweet.
And he was from up this way. He's got a kitchen and bath design center in the South Shore, down by the Cape. And so we were shooting the shit, and he's like, "Oh, no way! Like, you're in Rowley. Like, I'm about 3 hours from you, but like we're pretty close. We should hook up for lunch."
Yeah, cool.
So we went out for lunch, like shot the shit, and it was way before I had the podcast and stuff. And we're just talking because like sometimes I have interior designers or contractors that are working way down there, and they would rather, clients of ours don't really like to travel more than like 40 minutes to like go look at cabinets, right?
Right.
So we're too far for their customers down there. So I was like, oh, it's perfect for me because now I can refer, if I have a customer or someone down there, I can just refer them to you, and then vice versa. If you have somebody up this way, let me know and we'll take care of that one. And he actually brought me that book, Buy Back Your Time from
nice.
Dan Martell. And I was like, oh, this is sweet. And then I read it, dude. And I've done so much from that book in my business. And I've recommended that book to so many fucking people. And it all came from an inter-industry relationship, So
That's
case in point right there.
I started following him so heavily that I started pitching some of his concepts to people.
Yeah.
And it turned into like a side consulting business.
It's crazy.
I'm like, all I'm doing is researching people on YouTube and then being like, hey, have you tried this? And it's a light bulb moment for a lot of people. Like, oh my God, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I was delegating things wrong.
Right.
You
know what I love from that book and that we started doing is recording all your standard operating procedures.
Yeah.
So like all videos and stuff. So like everything that we do now, we just create standard operating procedures. I downloaded a thing called Loom, and it like records your screen and the front-facing camera and microphone. So like whatever you're doing on the computer, you can record, but you can also talk to the camera as you're doing it. So like most of our SOPs are all done like digitally now. So like when I go to sell my company at some point someday, I can be like, yeah, all of our standard operating procedures are right here. Like, watch the video and you can learn how to do our books or create an invoice or whatever.
You should be sponsored by them. You just explained that so well.
Yeah. Dude, it's awesome, man. And then funny because my buddy Eric he knows Dan Martell.
Oh, no
so
way.
So I think it was about 2 months ago. He was like, hey, what do you got going on this weekend? You want to come down? And I couldn't. I had a bunch of stuff going on. He's like, oh, I got your buddy coming over. And I was like, who's my buddy? He's like, Dan Martell. I'm like, you motherfucker.
No way.
I'm like, tell him to sign my book, will you? Yeah.
That'd be cool to get him for like a speaking engagement.
Yeah.
Like a big chamber event at like Blue Ocean or something.
That'd be badass.
You know?
And what I like about him, his story, like how he came up and stuff. Like, he didn't have it easy. It wasn't handed to him. And like now he's doing like really well. And like, I like his approach too. He's just a very like to the point, but like not over the top, right? Like, so you think of someone like Andy Frisella, for say, like he is to the point, but he's like in your face to the point. You know? I feel like Dan Martell is like very to the point and direct, but he like kind of does it in this like friendly, like kind of way.
Right.
And it's like, all right. I can respect that.
It's like, it's enough of an ease into something where you give it a try.
Yeah.
Like if that's how you're going to teach someone, like just try this for like a day.
Right.
Oh, wow. That changed my life. That simple. I literally have like the Eisenhower matrix on this note sheet right here.
It's perfect.
On like what to do, what to delegate, what to delete from your life. And I look at like my to-do list every day in that mindset.
I love that.
I'm like, all right, I have 50 things here. These ones aren't urgent, but they're important. I'm going to delegate them.
Yeah.
These ones are urgent and important. Those are what I'm doing right when I wake up.
Yeah.
Beyond the earlier before I go into work. The things that aren't important and aren't urgent, get rid of them. Why would you even focus a second on something that isn't urgent or important?
Yeah, true.
Well,
it's funny when you write them down and you recognize and you look at them in the quadrants is what he calls them.
Yeah, right.
If you look at them in the quadrants, it's like, wow, that's interesting how unimportant that actually is.
Yep.
So the real question is, this morning when you did this, where was the podcast in your quadrants?
Yeah. I was like, who can I delegate this to?
It's fucked up, mate.
I'm joking. Obviously, I canceled my whole day.
See that?
Because I assumed we would talk for like 6 or 7 hours. And then we blocked off 2, but I'm like, we're going to be here. I thought there was a snowstorm. We might have been buried in here for a while.
John's like, dude, I'll kick you both in the teeth if you make me stay here for 6 or 7
He's
hours.
like, I got people right after you guys. Get out of here. We're making good time.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad. It's only been an hour. It's actually funny because like I never have any idea how long the podcasts are going. No clue.
Yeah.
I usually just kind of get to a point and I can almost tell from John's like mannerisms that like, all right, we're getting close to an hour.
Wrap it up.
John's starting to like shake in his chair over there or like twirling like he's doing now. I'm like, all right, so we're getting close to an hour now.
Right
John's,
behind you.
John's getting fucking antsy.
Right behind you, there's a monitor with a clock right on it.
John, we were supposed to do that the other way around so that I could see the fucking clock. Yeah, no, you should have a mic. Something that you can just like key on every now and then.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I talk to you sometimes and nobody can ever hear what you're saying.
Yeah. Fact check you
Yeah,
every once
right.
in a while. No,
We could
that's
find
wrong.
out where that saying came from. You could like Google that shit while we're like talking about it. So what'll actually happen with this, right? Is talk about delegation quadrant.
Yeah.
Is that John will actually find some way to use AI. So like if we have a question, it'll just like automatically generate and then read it back to us or something.
Yeah.
Because that's the type of shit that John does all the time, and it's really impressive
I'm
to
on
me.
ChatGPT is the majority of my desktop every day. You know? Every day. Yeah.
Interesting.
It's as simple as I don't even call. Say you have a software and you don't know how to find, like through the settings, you don't know how to change something. Before I go on like their chat or their 1-800 number, I go on ChatGPT and say like, how do I change ownership of this QuickBooks account to this person?
No shit.
Yeah.
I just don't even think about it. And I feel like my boys would call me a boomer. I feel like a boomer if like I don't do that stuff better. But I just never really like, I'm able to figure things out, but I could probably do much better with fucking ChatGPT. Dude, you know who's huge on AI right now? I seen him in the parking lot, John. Is Michael Rourke with Newburyport. Dude, he went on for like 20 minutes telling me about all the stuff he's doing with AI.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that's what he said to me. He's like, I'm going to an AI convention. I'm like, what? You're a fucking contractor,
He
bro.
is, yeah.
But dude, it's funny because like he's an older guy and
Yeah.
like that dude is like thinks that AI is going to save the world. Like,
Early adopter.
Yeah.
It's either going to
ruin the
save
world.
it or
Yeah.
completely ruin it. You're right.
I hope it saves it, man. Because like the worst part would be if AI took over. Because then like all the guns and ammo, like I can't. It's not like a zombie apocalypse or
Yeah.
something. You know what I mean? I can't.
I just think people aren't thinking for themselves. So like creativity could go down.
Yeah.
And people are like,
Maybe.
I don't know how to public speak anymore because I just ask it and then I just read it. You know?
Yeah, but I feel like there's always the people, the competitive people, right?
Yeah.
Like I can do it better than ChatGPT. Like,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're gonna figure out ways to like do it better than ChatGPT.
For sure. I always see the pendulum swinging back where it's like if things are too clean,
Yeah.
too filtered, people are like, I want to see a zit on your face in this video now. Like it's too clean.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like people are craving more and more real and authentic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's an important thing. And like I feel like AI is going to have a place and it's going to be probably a big part of a lot of things that we do.
Yeah.
I feel like it's going to take jobs cuz like think about a lawyer, dude. Like I don't care how you could be the best lawyer on the face of the planet. You do not know everything about law.
Yeah.
You know who does? AI.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Got fired for using an AI brief that cited things that didn't exist.
No shit.
Still have to
Whoa. Yeah, but that's like the speed that I think of. Like we didn't have a privacy policy on our website, which is important and legal. And so I quickly drafted something through ChatGPT and then ran that past a board member that's an attorney, you know, like,
Yeah.
so it's like, hey, I
true.
got like the sign off, but it was a quick, anytime I'm building like a template for something, you know,
Yeah.
how would you write this out? You know,
Yeah. I don't do that.
how
and
would
it
you
takes
teach a
me so
membership
long.
101 course for the the Greater Newburyport Chamber of Commerce? And here's my website, and they pull everything apart. Then I create
crazy.
a PowerPoint on it, and then we do that every week now. Membership
Interesting.
101.
So that's how the one-man show started with the Greater Chamber. Fucking Nate and AI.
How long has ChatGPT been
I don't know.
around for us? It's probably been around forever, but
5 years?
5 years. Yeah.
I just found out about it like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
So
I
whatever.
was going to say last year, I think I started using it heavily.
Yeah. But I mean, there's a lot that you can do with it, you know.
Totally.
But you know, you don't want it to take away from the authenticity of like certain things either.
Right.
Like I think about like my day to days, like, you know, writing a lot of emails where, you know, putting out fires, I'm, you know, doing a bunch of different things. And like sometimes like with my emails, like, hey, we have an issue with a client, like this is what's going on.
Yeah.
I have to send them a nice email, but I don't want to be defensive. Like, you know, probably help me
Yeah.
time wise.
Yeah.
Because like I feel like I'm really good at those emails, but it takes me a while to really kind of say the things that I want to say.
Yeah.
Or that I need to say, but not say the things that I want to say, you
Right.
know, because sometimes you're walking on eggshells a little bit.
Well, that's a cool thing too, that like you can get a plugin, like an AI based plugin for your Outlook, for your whatever email you use, Apple Mail. And within that, depending on what like softwares you're using, that plugin can like answer something 80% of the way. You know, like,
Interesting.
make this sound a little more positive. Like,
Yeah.
say no in a happy way, you know, like,
Can you make me nicer?
right. Yeah. Yeah. That's something too. Like wait, I've always heard like wait 24 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. There are some times where I'm like typing away, you know, and
Yeah.
then I'm like, all right,
Read it
I'm gonna put this
tomorrow.
down for a minute.
Yep.
I'm gonna take a little breath, go get a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna come back and reapply, you know.
My wife tells me to do that all the time.
Yeah.
She's probably saved my career several times.
Yeah.
Like, hey, put your phone down for 1 second.
Yeah.
Read it tomorrow. And I'll be like, yeah, I was an asshole.
Yeah.
I should not send that out.
Yeah. But sometimes I feel like you have to like it's gotta be some passion in it. And the only way
Yeah.
you're gonna have some passion in it is if you're answering it right now.
Yeah.
You know. So
Yep.
it's like, you know, where is that line? I don't know.
Where's that line exactly?
Right.
Like, are you being offensive, insulting right,
Right.
now? Or are you being like, hey, I'm passionate about this.
Right.
And I think you're wrong.
Yeah. 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 How do I tell them that they're wrong without telling them that they're wrong?
Right.
You know, would be a good little startup is that like get a little company together to help have like introduce AI to small business. Like sit with me for 3 days, look at my job description, what I do all day long, and then implement ways AI can help me.
Yeah.
Fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
Next startup, John? Does it? AM Connect does a lot for sure.
I mean, that's a level of like consulting. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. And like you can go through, I'm sure you can go through an audit pretty quickly to be like, you got to do these 14 things on your website. You got
Yeah.
to do these 80 things.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, luckily I have John, and John does a lot of that stuff for us, and I don't even know about it.
Yeah.
But it'd be cool to like, you know, that's something you should think about for the business is like market that. Be like, hey, I'm already doing these things, but I can also do other things to help your business. Oh, webinars. Yeah, you could do it
Look at
on
him
Zoom.
giving you ideas. I bet he already has all of these ideas.
Probably. Yeah. John is a worker, bro. So like the thing I love about John is that like I'll email him at fucking 9 o'clock at night on a Sunday, and
Yeah.
he responds right away. Like I don't know when he's not working.
Yeah.
And I try not to push that luck because his wife is also my
Yeah.
lead designer. So like I'm not trying to piss her off
Yeah,
either.
yeah.
But sometimes I got shit I gotta say at 9 o'clock on a Sunday, you know.
Yeah.
But John is always working. So I'm sure that John has already thought about this and probably built some kind of like pipeline website
Yeah.
thing.
Or he's doing it right now,
He's doing it right now.
live with AI. Yeah.
He actually has an implant in his head and he's just thinking about it and it's being implemented on the computer behind him.
All right.
I don't know where the fuck we're going with this today.
I don't know.
It's been a great podcast so far.
Yeah. I love this.
So last thing that we do is toolbox tips. So toolbox tips is just practical advice that you would give to somebody who starting up a company, thinks they want to jump out on their own, maybe wants to join a chamber, you know, something that you would tell yourself 10 years ago. Before we do that though, I'll let you gives you a minute to think about it.
Yeah.
Is if you're
I already
watching,
have notes. I wrote it down, man.
my man, he's acting like he doesn't know what I'm talking about, but he's like, I got this shit.
Yeah.
I had AI write something for me already for toolbox tips. Before we get into it, if you're watching the podcast, you're liking the content that we're putting out here, don't forget to like and follow the social media pages. You know, like the YouTube channel, wherever you're listening to it. Please follow us, like us, share it with all of your friends. Tell your friends about it. Tell your mom about it. She'd love it. anybody that you can tell.
She already follows.
She already watches us. You know, trying to get this thing out there, trying to spread the word to as many people as we can, and try and help as many businesses as we can. So it's all I ask for in return.
Yeah.
Toolbox tips, babe. Give him the tip.
All right. You know, Tim Ferriss, that dude, he's like an athlete. He wrote a book on like the 3-hour, the 4-hour work week.
Oh, yeah.
I love this man.
I think I follow him on Instagram.
Yeah. I have a crush on this man. One of his quotes that like made me lose my mind at the chamber and in past careers as well. The more decisions you have to make, the more broken your systems are. Goes back to that like delegation piece where I'm like, if I'm walking around the office all day and I have to answer a question for my VP, answer a question for my finance and accounting person, my membership person, if I'm the one answering all the questions, I'm like, wow, I have broken systems. I need to better empower these people to make decisions.
Right.
I need to
come up with a process
work
for them
on
to
the SOPs, like you're saying. Like that was a big one for me. And then the second one I have, right? So So owner, if you, and I'm probably stealing this quote from someone, but like if you were to sell your business, right? Get it like ready to sell. What would be the first thing that the purchaser changes? Like if you know that answer right off the bat, you should be changing it for yourself, like right now.
Truth.
So I think of that all the time. Like if I wasn't, and maybe like alter that a little. So if I'm no longer the executive director, if I'm like, here's the binder to run the chamber.
Here you go.
What would, if I'm thinking of like, what would be the first thing you'd change? I know that's a weak point in the chamber.
Truth.
Already. So if I write a list of that down saying like, all right, in my business, I run an HVAC company now, you know, and it's like, if I'm going to sell this to a larger company, you know, I'm just like a mom and pop small business and I want to sell to like Caswell or like, I want to sell to like a big energy company, you know, what's the first thing I think they're going to change? Oh, you know what? They're going to scale this. They're going to get more trucks. They're going to do this to our website. They're probably going to do that. Start doing those things on your own.
That's a great fucking point. That's some gold right there on the Toolbox tips. Both of those. They both made me think.
It's all these podcasts.
Yeah.
Just regurgitating what other people say.
How many hours of podcasts do you watch or listen to?
I try to do them like it's hilarious. My commute's like 6 minutes into the office, so I can't listen to anything. Usually at night, if I like time block a solid hour of like emails. I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
So
you're busy.
Around 8 o'clock, they're asleep, you know, and from like the 8 to midnight, 8 to 10, 11, 12, you know, is like a second day of work for me. So I'll listen to at least an hour of a podcast while I'm answering some emails. I always have this little note thing at the bottom of my email saying like, this is a convenient time for me to send an email. I don't expect you to respond right now.
Yeah.
Because I've had people in the past say like, I don't work around the clock. Like they were like offended that I'm sending them emails and I'm like, listen, this is the only time I can send it.
Yeah.
Because throughout the day, I'm not at my desk, you know? So I'm like, this is when it's going to get to you.
Yeah.
Read it and answer it at 9.
Right.
In the morning.
Right.
You know?
But that's the thing. So this is the way that I look at those types of communications, right? If it's after hours, email me.
Yeah.
Right? Because like it's not intrusive. It's not personal. It's business.
Yep.
Email me. If it's within business hours, I hate text messaging in businesses, but it's inevitable, right?
Yeah.
If it's within business hours, text or call me. If it's immediate, you need an answer right now, call me.
Yeah.
But like text and phone calls should be during business hours if it's about business.
Yep.
Even though I'm a business owner and I work fucking million hours, right?
Yeah.
If it's business hours, call or text me. If it's not, email me. And I'll get to that email when I can, you know?
Right.
So like, I don't care if somebody fucking like John emails me at 3:00 in the morning sometimes. So like, I love that because then I can get up and I'm like, I got it. You know, I get my little thing to my little, you know, schedule of shit to get done, you know?
Yeah. So I'll usually pull someone aside if maybe 3 or 4 or 5 times this happens where someone's like, sorry to bother you, but I'm like, just send stuff.
Yeah. Right.
Don't be sorry to bother me.
Just bother me.
Because also you're not. If you're sending it anyways, you're not.
Right.
If you were truly sorry, you wouldn't send
Wouldn't send it, right? Yeah.
you know,
You don't have email regret.
just send it. you know?
Right. That's funny. All right, man. I think that about wraps it up, brother. Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we got to do this. And I'm going to get more involved with the chamber
As you
because
should.
I do believe that, those local relationships are important.
Yep.
So I'm actually probably going to have Stephanie reach out. She's our outside sales rep. Have
awesome.
her probably reach out or just try and have her figure out when the events are, how she can find the events and stuff. What's the best way to find those events from the chamber?
Newburyportchamber.org
You don't have like a fucking
/events /membership /gift card /whatever.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So
Just
that's
go
the
to our
best way to
page.
do it.
That's where you can see everything.
And then you have an Instagram page too. You're super active on it. I tell everybody to kind of follow that. You want to learn how to network and stuff and how to get out there. Nate does it pretty well. So
Yeah.
and then that's it, man. So I'm gonna see you at some more of your events instead of just running into you at other events.
Sweet.
So that's the plan. But thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you. It's great.